Alright, howdy guys, it's Tachi, and I'm here with Luxley, and we're going to go over the Warlords of Draenor racial traits. And as you know, Warlords of Draenor is coming up, and they said that they were going to change some of them, and here we go.
I'm armed and ready.
So, Arcane Acuity is now a new racial passive ability that increases critical strike chance by 1%. So it's a Worgen old one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, so now Blood Elves are Worgans. Next.
And Arcane Torrent, which is a big change, now restores 20 runic power for Death Knights, up from 15. 1 holy power for paladins, or 3% max, or 3% of mana for mages, priests, and warlocks, up from 2%.
Well, I mean, I think that's a fair thing to do, because that, I mean, other than this, they took the silence away.
No, it says other aspects of the ability remain unchanged, so it's still.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Still
so they just added a little something to it. Okay.
Draenor, his heroic presence has been redesigned. It no longer requires hit because there's no more hit rating in Warlords of Draenor or expertise, so you'll see a lot of that changing. And increases strength, agility, and intellect scaling with the character level, so we don't know how much it's going to scale right now.
That could be really interesting.
But as we don't,
that could be really, really interesting.
Maybe they did that so we can see more space goats, because you hardly ever see them, except for paladins, maybe. And
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you see a lot. You don't see them outside of paladins or shaman, really. That's the reality of the situation. And I think it's interesting. It does make me kind of like think maybe Draenor, especially the next one.
Well,
which is
they're giving us a reason to actually roll Draenor, because there's supposed to be tons of Draenor lore, which is one of the reasons I loved hearing about the stuff. Maybe actually going back and seeing some of that, so maybe that'll force some people to actually play him.
Well, this is huge that they lowered it from 15 seconds to 5 seconds, because having played a Draenor as a paladin and also as a shaman, you know, you hit that, it just doesn't heal you fast enough in the current environment. It's pretty much useless. I'm speaking from a PvP perspective, so to take it from 15 to 5 is a pretty huge thing and a much needed thing. So I think it does make Draenor more attractive in general.
Yeah, let's go to the dwarves. Crack shot has been removed because it was 1% expertise with ranged weapons.
Oh, hopefully they're not addicted to crack, because it's gone.
Yeah, mace specialization was 1% expertise to maces, and now has been replaced with Might of the Mountain. And Might of the Mountain is a new racial passive ability that increases crit, bonus damage, and healing by 2%.
Ah, healing! Look at that.
So
look at
that. Might have more dwarf priest. Which I was dwarf priest for a while, and everybody called me crazy because I was the only female dwarf on my server.
Yeah, I mean those racials for the dwarfs were always pretty bad. You know, I mean, unless you're a tank, you know, with stone form, or you know, actually it was pretty decent for a rogue to have that stone form. Kind of gives you a second, you know, instead of using your cloak of shadows to wipe stuff off and go stealth, you had that dwarf racial. So it wasn't always so bad.
And now it's even better, because now Stoneform also removes magics and curses effects, in addition to poison, disease, and bleed effects, along with reducing damage taken by 10% for 8 seconds. It remains unusable while CC'd. But still, I
think I got to re-roll a dwarf and a Draenor.
Yeah.
I got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, because...
Can we do this later?
Yeah.
I gotta go roll stuff.
Yeah, magic and curse effects added to the poison, disease, and bleed is going to be, again, nice for PvP. Just another...
Well, that's my only mindset, really. You know, it's like... And I also like the dwarf model, so that is definitely an improvement.
Yeah, the new one's coming out, too, so that'll look even better. And now to my favorite race, the gnomes.
Yeah, gnomes... it's hard for me to admit that I like them, but how could you not like them?
Yeah, everybody always makes fun of them, but now Expansive Mind now increases maximum mana, energy, rage, and runic power by 5% instead of only increasing maximum mana.
5%'s not a lot, but, you know, hey, it's not bad. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, warriors can have more rage to Bladestorm on you now. Escape Artist cooldown has been reduced to 1 minute, down from 1.5 minutes. So that's more PvP changes for the gnomes.
That's actually pretty huge.
Short blade specialization, it was 1% expertise with one-handed swords and daggers, has now been replaced with nimble fingers. And nimble fingers now is a passive ability that increases haste by 1%.
All right, so it's a one. All right, that's not bad.
More of a PvE buff, I think. But
well, yeah. I mean, haste and PvP. I mean, I don't know. My personal opinion is it's always been overrated.
You don't. I mean, well, for PvE, it's needed by almost every caster for the haste caps, which 1% could mean a lot. It could mean an extra gem that you don't have to reforge or go over. Mm-hmm. So it looks like goblins are leaving pretty much everything with the way the rocket jump and everything. But now time is money now grants a 1% increase to haste, up from only attack speed and spell haste. So they're about the same.
Okay.
Humans, mace specialization has been removed. Sword specialization has been removed. The human spirit has been redesigned. It no longer increases spirit by 3% and instead increases 2 secondary stats by an amount scaling with character level. You can choose which 2 secondary stats it increases. This has not yet been implemented.
I wanted to increase critical strike, haste, and mastery. I was never good at math.
Yeah. They have said that they are thinking about getting rid of every man for himself and replacing with someone else. Because as you know, an alliance player, if you're going to PvP or be arena, you're pretty much forced into going human. In my opinion, if you're a heavy PvPer with a BG and arena mindset.
I mean, some of it depends on the class. I mean, I agree with you for the most part. But if you break it down class by class, for example, a hunter. I played both a Worgen and a human hunter in PvP. Worgen was kata, so it's a little outdated. But that Worgen sprint for a hunter was really, really huge, plus that extra crit. So it kind of does depend on the class, but generally speaking, you're right.
Yeah, so a Night Elf quickness now also increases movement speed by 2%. In addition to increasing dodge chance by 2%.
That I don't like. I think it's a bit too esoteric to certain classes, and that 2%, really isn't going to be that huge. I knew they were going to take that away because I guess I don't know if quickness was linked with the hit rating or whatever, but no, I don't like that.
Oh, you'll like this one then. Touch of a Loon is a new passive ability which increases haste by 1% at night and critical strike chance by 1% during the day. So I don't imagine them keeping that very much because the community's going to complain.
I mean, how could you differentiate night and day? I don't know. I mean, I like the concept of it, but the actual application's just, not good at all.
So
I don't like what they did with Night Elves. I mean, Shadow Meld is really huge if you know how to use it well. I mean, particularly if you're a healer.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that's not going away, but I just don't like what they're giving us here for Night Elves. The first one is just esoteric to certain classes, and the movement speed, you could find many other ways to increase your movement speed.
It might be good for a tank, a warrior tank, just to increase the dodge chance by 2%.
That's what I'm saying. It's too esoteric.
I mean, it's more heavily PvE, I think, than PvP, even with the increased movement speed.
But you're talking tanking classes, so now you're. That's why I'm saying it's too esoteric. It's not something that's really going to help a priest. It's not or a a caster balance druid, for example. I don't know.
They'll probably change. They don't sound that great like the other ones have.
Okay, so now we got orcs.
Yeah, axe specialization has been removed, and hardiness now reduces the stun duration of stun effects by 10%. So it's down from 15%. So it is a nerf, a slight nerf.
Well, I think that's good because their racial, which is a damage-oriented racial, is probably the best horde racial. Almost like you say, humans are a necessity for PvP. I think orcs, given the choice, are pretty much the big necessity for PvP as well because of that racial. So I think that's kind of needed, actually. But, you know, I think they should give them something else, you know, some little thing, you know, something. I think orcs are kind of getting the overall bad end of the deal.
Yeah, now in the Tauren, Brawn is a new racial passive that increases critical strike bonus damage and healing done by 2%. So it's the same as the
was it the dwarves, was it, or
yes,
the gnomes?
It was
okay.
Yeah, dwarves. And also endurance now increases stamina by amount scaling with the character level, and instead of base healing by 5 or base health by 5%. So we might see more health for Tauren paladins or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, once again, kind of a tanking thing, but I've always been a strong advocate of having a large stamina pool. You know, even though people might be, well, I don't gem for stam anymore, but you know, I think when I was a noob in Lich King, I did be like, oh, you got stamina gems, but you know, I think a little extra stamina doesn't hurt, especially if you don't, you know, you're not gemming or enchanting for it. So I think I have no problem with it.
Yeah. Now for the big nerfs, Troll Berserking now increases haste by 15%, down from 20%. So pretty big nerf.
If I'm not mistaken, I mean, I don't play Horde that often, but I think that was a 3-minute cooldown. Pretty sure it was a 3-minute cooldown. So 20% on a 3-minute cooldown really isn't that bad. I don't think that's a necessary nerf, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're getting away because Troll is like the main PvE use. If you're going to raid and stuff, a lot of guilds almost want you to be the Troll, just because of the extra cooldown with that haste, which can mean a lot if you're a warlock DPSing or any class that uses haste. But maybe that's why it was.
I mean, maybe, but like I said, you know, if you really wanted to, you could have kept it that way and put it on a 4-minute cooldown. And, you know, I mean, you got to look at it in perspective with the other classes where they have something that they can use, you know, for example, the gnome, you know, every 1 minute.
Yeah, breaking roots and stuff.
Exactly.
Beast slaying now increases XP earned from killing beasts by 20% instead of increasing damage dealt versus beasts by 5%. Another PvE nerf because they felt that was way too good of a thing to have when you're doing a raid and half the raids are beasts. You know.
Well, now you're going to have a lot of people standing around killing all the boars and wolves. You know, for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a skinner, you know, it's just like, hey, I can get XP, I can get skins to sell, and whatever. I don't think it's huge. I mean, I don't. It's kind of a non-event.
Yeah, Deadeye has been removed. It was the 1% expertise with ranged weapons. And now the Undead, Will of the Forsaken's cooldown has been increased to 3 minutes, up from 2.
Which one is Will of the Forsaken? Is that the one? Oh, Touch of Death is the one that heals you and throws a little bit of damage, right?
Yeah.
Will of the Forsaken is the sleep charm fear removal thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is long overdue. I mean, it really is because it gives, especially for someone, you know, someone who's played a warlock and who's, you know, where, you know, undead rogues were my kryptonite. You know, because you fear them and they have 2 trinkets to get out of it. It's just you have very, you know, there are other ways to peel them, yes, but you know,
just think of now that nearly every warrior on the horde side goes undead, and just think of all the fear removals that they have just from being a warrior and the Will of the Forsaken. You pretty much can't fear them.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't. I mean, a good for example, I mean, a good warrior, if you're a warlock, is going to interrupt your hard cast fear, and the reality is, Berserker Rage is on the same cooldown as Psychic Scream. So, basically, Psychic Scream is useless to peel a warrior. And as I see, there's nothing with Worgen. Am I right?
Yeah, no Worgen changes. That's what I was going to
Fuck!
That's what I was going to say.
My favorite class that needs something. I'm not saying something big, but it's like Christmas and I didn't get a present, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, you still get to hear him sniff all the time. That's your buff.
Yeah, butt sniffing. Get butt sniffing, increased damage by 0.1%. I mean, come on. I mean, the Worgen racials, there's only two useful ones. I mean, which is the extra crit, 1%, and the and what do you call it? And obviously the sprint, which really 30% isn't a lot on a 2-minute cooldown. I mean, for Worgen, it should be much higher, but I understand why it is the way it is, because there are Worgen druids, and if you gave them the sprint with the class abilities, it would be stupid. But I mean, for the other classes, you know, there has to be something more for Worgen. Once again, you know, a lot of positive stuff to applaud Blizzard for, but not doing anything for Worgen, you know, doesn't make me give them a passing grade.
So the people read these, and then they posted about the every man for himself still being on here, and they said, unlike the other racials that provide some type of CC to spell, every man for himself actually replaces a CC break PvP trinket. It isn't in addition to it, so what you gain with every man for himself is actually a trinket slot. Thus, is a power that is very much related to what trinkets there are available. We're still determining our plan for the PvP trinket itemization, so I haven't decided on what to do with every man for himself yet. It's quite strong, and we agree that it looks unfair from these patch notes. We just haven't decided what to do it with, so don't take the list as a statement of every man for himself won't be changing somehow. So that's it for the Warlords of Draenor racial changes. Now, if they come up with more changes, we'll go and check them out too. I might make another video discussing if they change anything, which they probably will, since it's still early. And be sure to check out Luxeley's channel. Click anywhere on the screen right now. It'll take you and check out his channel. He does, like I said, WoW transmogs, noob PvP, which is my favorite. He does some machinima. And you can just see all these awesome transmog sets he does. So I'll see you next time. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. This is Tachi signing out. Have a good day.